Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, friends. Namaskar. It's an absolute joy and privilege to be here with all of you today. This is the first Wave Summit, and it has already created a storm all around. It has brought together the most vibrant creative voices from more than 100 countries on a common stage. My gratitude to Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Bhai Modi ji for his incredible vision for this summit and for his consistent, unparalleled leadership in taking India and Indian culture to the world. This summit is a powerful reminder of who we are and who we have always been. I speak to you as a proud citizen of our ancient land. And the theme of my keynote is taking India to the world. Long before the birth of the internet or even cinema, the influence of Indian culture had already spread across the globe. Taking India to the world is not a new concept or a new idea. The light of India has traveled far and wide for thousands of years. Hundreds of Buddhist monks from all over the world traveled on foot to India in ancient times in search of cultural and spiritual knowledge. In Japan and Indonesia, Hindu deities like Lakshmi, Saraswati, Shiva, Ram and Ganesh are worshipped even today. The splendor of India's temple architecture can be seen in Angkor Wat in Cambodia, Borobudur in Indonesia, and the ruins of charm temples in Vietnam. Indian philosophy left a deep imprint on some of the greatest thinkers and philosophers of the world. We are a country enriched by the wisdom of its civilization, but equally energized by the throbbing energy of the world's youngest population. A country where sacred traditions meet modern dynamism in perfect harmony, where the rising power of our economy, soon to be the third largest in the world, meets our soaring global soft power. We are a timeless civilization that gifted humanity with the enduring ideals of Satya, Ahimsa, Ekta and Aman, truth, non-violence, unity and peace. A luminous nation that gave the world the wisdom of the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita and the teachings of Gautam Buddha and Mahatma Gandhi. Bharat is where it all began. India is the origin of Om, the sound of the birth of our universe, the birthplace of zero, Shunya, the beginning of the infinite, the home of Sanskrit that gave the world language, the land of yoga and Ayurveda, the pioneer in science and philosophy, from Aryabhat's astronomical calculations to Adi Sankaracharya's Advait Vedanta, the beacon of arts and literature, from our classical music and dance forms to the epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. We are the very cradle of civilization, a cultural force whose time has come once again. Every civilization tells a story. Some tell it with power and might, but we have always told our stories with our soul. For over 5,000 years, from our Kathavachaks to the traveling bards, from our legendary folklore to temple murals, and from our epics to present-day cinema, storytelling has always been the heartbeat of our legacy. In the modern age, India's magnificent heritage and the soft power of our theatre, dance, music, cinema, writers, artists and artisans have won the hearts and minds of people in all continents and corners of the globe. Friends, like all Indians, we at Reliance Foundation are great admirers and ardent supporters and passionate lovers of art. And we deeply believe in the power of our culture to heal, inspire, and unite. At the Foundation, we regard it to be our highest duty to protect, preserve, revive, and honor India's priceless artistic legacy. It is with this spirit that we started the Nita Ambani Cultural Centre 2 years ago. Our vision is to showcase the best of India to the world and bring the best of the world to India. With the same vision, we started Swadesh, our humble movement to encourage and promote India's age-old arts and crafts on the global stage. Swadesh honors our traditional artisans who have learnt at the feet of their fathers and grandfathers, and whose every weave, every carving, every brush carries not just the touch of the hand, but the memory of centuries. For instance, the Indian sari, which is one of the fondest expression of our tradition. Today, our timeless 9 yards are weaving the India story across fashion runways, woven by our weavers with love and worn by our women with pride, wherever in the world they are, from Mother Teresa to India's missile woman, Dr. Tessie Thomas, to our Finance Minister, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, our lawyers to journalists, and from astronauts to change makers, all wear it as an ode to a legacy that has been passed down over thousands of years from their mothers, grandmothers, and great-grandmothers. That is the magic of our culture. It evolves without erasing. In most parts of the world, culture is something to be preserved. But in India, it is something we live every day. For us, it's not a memory frozen in time. It is our living reality. It flows like our rivers and breathes like a forest. Here in India, the modern does not compete with the ancient. It coexists in perfect harmony. And this is what Indian culture sets us apart. Our ability to hold contradictions with grace, to honor tradition and welcome transitions and transformations, to cherish our similarities and celebrate our differences. For centuries, India has gifted the world its wisdom, its beauty, and its soul. Somewhere along the way, our voice softened. But now it is rising again. And for that, we owe deep gratitude to our Prime Minister Modi ji, whose unwavering vision and leadership have reignited India's voice on the world stage with pride and purpose. From yoga to Chandrayaan, from digital inclusion to cultural diplomacy, from G20 to waves. Today, India's spirit is inspiring the world like never before. And young Indians are answering the call, embracing our roots, carrying our spirit, and making India proud on the world stage. From sports fields to concert halls, from fashion houses to global kitchens and international dance festivals. In spite of living away from India, young global icons like Anushka Shankar and Rishabh Sharma in music, Vikas Khanna in cuisine, or Priyanka Chopra in cinema are holding the spirit of India dear to their hearts and spreading the message of Indianness around the world. This, my friends, is not the beginning of something new. It is our very foundation, and that is why I'm happy to share that this September, with great joy and pride, we are taking Indian culture to the world. The Nita Ambani Cultural Centre will proudly present a grand Indian weekend at the iconic Lincoln Center in New York. We will spotlight the soul of India in all its glory, our arts and artisans, our weaves and weavers, our songs and dances, and our fashion and food. Friends, standing here at Waves, among creators, thinkers, dreamers, and designers, I speak as a fellow dreamer, a passionate artist, and an eternal believer in the power of our culture. I speak to every artist, animator, writer, designer, playwright, musician, filmmaker, or policymaker. I speak to you as the storytellers of India's tomorrow, as modern ambassadors of India's heritage. And I want to remind you, you're not just telling the story. You are the story. You are the custodians of India's soul. The time has come for a culture not just to inspire the world, but also transform it and make it a better place to live in for all humanity. I'm sure that in the near future, Indian crafts will shape global aesthetics. Indian Ayurveda will shape global healing. Indian spirituality will shape global well-being, and Indian storytelling will shape global imagination. Let our Amar Chitra Kathas be the world's next Harry Potters. Let our epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata, light up the silver screens of the world. Let our classical dances sparkle on the grandest of global stages. Let our stories inspire generations to come. Because friends, culture is not just a reflection of who we are. It is a powerful tool to shape who we become. In a world building virtual reality, let us also embrace spiritual reality. In a world obsessed with speed, let us also remember the value of stillness. In a world racing towards AI, artificial intelligence, let us not lose the wisdom of the original AI, ancient intelligence. Imagine a world that combines the innovation of artificial intelligence with the intuition of ancient intelligence. A world where data is driven by dharma, where our choices are led by a collective conscience, where progress is defined not just by power but by purpose, and where intelligence is not just artificial but awakened in service of humanity. Today, empowered by digital technology and strengthened by global partnership, we stand at a moment unlike any before, a moment where Indian culture can shine on the world stage, not just in fragments, but in its full grandeur. And in doing so, we offer the world a gift for our children, a world that they will not just inherit, but cherish for generations to come. That world is calling on India now, on our stories, our soul, our spirit, our spirituality, and our Sanskriti. So let us all rise, not only to honor the glorious of our past, but to ignite the promise of our future. Let us step forward as the torchbearers of a timeless civilization, walking the path of courage and conviction. Let us carry the force of our eternal values and enduring culture, a force that brings light where there is darkness, that gives hope where there is fear, that binds humanity together when the world feels broken apart. This is our moment. Let's seize it together with grace and with wisdom. Dhanyavad. Jai Hind.
I'm honored to be here now with one of India's most iconic entrepreneurs, Dr. Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, Executive Chairperson of Biocon Group. She transformed Biocon from a garage startup into a multi-billion-dollar pharma powerhouse. Her work revolutionizing access to affordable healthcare globally has earned her recognition over the years as one of India's richest self-made women on the Forbes World's Most Powerful Women list and Time 100, just to name a few. And for me personally, it's a huge honor to be here with you, Kiran. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manit. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, I want to start with one of the key priorities here at the WAVE's inaugural summit is that we've been collectively focusing on the tremendous potential that India represents on the global stage, especially at this moment. His Honorable Prime Minister Modi spoke yesterday about the orange economy and the creativity, culture, and collaboration. So I would love to get your thoughts on what that means for you.
So I think, when we talk about the orange economy, it's about a creative economy. And if you think about how media and entertainment has created very, very significant creative economies in many parts of the world. For example, if you think of how Lord of the Rings created an amazing creative economy in New Zealand, if you think about how Harry Potter created a great creative economy or an orange economy in Great Britain. And not only that, Harry Potter took things out of the UK. They created theme parks in the US and Abu Dhabi, and that's the opportunity you have in creating these global creative economies. And of course, in the US, you have Disney that has created an amazing, creative economy based on all its films and theme parks and what have you. So I think films are the launching pad of creating this universe of narratives, okay? And if I look back on India, did we have lost opportunities? Sholay was a blockbuster film. Could we have created a creative economy around Sholay? We have Bahubali. Can we now create a creative economy around Bahubali? That's the innovative potential that, the orange economy has for a country like India. And I know that as an entrepreneur, as an innovator, to create these kind of new spaces, it takes time, but you have to start.
Right.
So the way I look at it is India has this amazing opportunity because we have this very rich and diverse, narrative from various parts of the country and from every part of the country. How do we create this orange economy from these kind of opportunities is my reading of what this orange economy has to offer. How do we create something out of very, big epics? I'll give you an example. Ramayana, a great epic, okay? And when we talk about tradition meets technology, technology can take our tradition global, right?
Right.
So if you think about, as I mentioned, Ramayana, and how Ramayana has been a great epic that has been cinematized. But that cinematic effect has only touched the Indian diaspora around the world.
Right.
But if you think about what George Lucas did to Ramayana, he borrowed from Ramayana and created Star Wars, which was a blockbuster sci-fi movie production.
For decades now.
For decades, and it still is relevant today.
Yeah.
Because epics are timeless. You can create these narratives, but you have to, change the narrative. Technology changes the narrative, and we need to learn to do that.
And I love what you said in some of our earlier conversations, that India needs a new narrative to propel itself forward.
Yeah, India needs a new narrative, and technology is that new narrative.
So it's the marrying of the technology and the creativity and this rich culture. So coupled with that, India, I think, has crossed 1 billion smartphones in the next year, right? And you've just said technology will drive India forward and will be that new narrative. How can we leverage all of this access to push the country to the next phase?
So I think we're at a very exciting time in our history, okay? First and foremost, you've got this amazing technology ecosystem that's rapidly developing in India. 1 billion smartphones, you've got a very, important and robust, growing digital infrastructure, and you've got a tech-savvy Gen Z. How do you use new technologies, AI and VFX and everything else, to really launch ourselves into the global space? That is really what innovation is going to be. It cannot happen overnight. I mean, I know as someone who develops molecules,
right,
that it takes a long time to develop a blockbuster molecule or a novel molecule. But you have to start somewhere. You have to conceptualize, you have to strategize. So it's like you have to ideate, you have to evolve a strategy around it. And the most important thing is, it's about creating that launch pad. I created my launch pad, when I thought about creating a biotech company in my garage. When I created my company, that was the launch pad. That launch pad could make me do anything. I created a biotech company which I started with enzymes, but it took me to biopharmaceuticals.
right.
It took me to many aspects of biopharmaceuticals. And so that's what you need to do. You need to start, conceptualize, think big, and really focus on which part of that universe do you want to belong to, and how are you going to be a significant part of that universe. That's what it's about. So creating that universe of storytelling, creating that new universe of new narrative, based on technology, is going to be that opportunity for Indian startups and innovators.
So speaking of startups, India has the fastest growing startup ecosystem right now, right behind the US and China, valued at over 450 billion and over 110 unicorns. So we're really at this momentous inflection point right now. And there's a key that we've been hearing here that from Prime Minister Modi and others, that is commitment to grow India's economy from the 5th largest in the world to the 3rd. So walk us through, from your vantage point, what India should be doing to get us from the 5th position to the 3rd. What lessons startups can use from your journey to take us forward?
So I think yesterday we heard some numbers. They said the media and entertainment ecosystem contributes to about $28 billion towards India's GDP. And they wanted to basically increase to $100 billion. I, for one, believe the potential is much greater. How do we basically aim for $1 trillion by Viksit Bharat's date of 2047? Can we create $1 trillion of a media entertainment orange ecosystem orange economy as we call it. Can the orange economy be a $1 trillion economy by 2047? It's a big dream, but it's possible. For all that I've said, right? You can create amazing new opportunities for innovative young minds. The multiplier effect of creating, you have to think beyond the film. The film is just a launch pad. The film is what allows you to build a much greater franchise. And it's about building that brand, right? And that creates your larger and larger ecosystem. It's like what we call this waves. It starts with ripples, but the ripples translate into waves. That's what we need to aim for. We need to aim to think big, to create these large opportunities out of one single success. How do we create that success? How do we create that blockbuster film and make it much bigger than the film itself?
Right.
That is the opportunity we are talking about when you talk about the universe of media and entertainment.
So I want to talk a moment about leveraging all of the strengths of India for the startup ecosystem. How can startups leverage India's creative legacy, like Amul's Wit or Air India's Maharaja, to build new age IP and visual narratives, right? That is one of the keys to unlock here with the startup ecosystem.
So I think, whilst we keep talking about media and entertainment, I think communication is a big, big deal for this country. I think when you look at just corporate communication, I think, communication itself has changed. It is no longer about going to a movie theater to watch a movie on screen. People want an immersive experience. People want a 3D experience. People want an interactive experience. AR, VR is going to play a very important role going future. How do we imagine all this? What are the theaters of the future going to look like? That's the innovative opportunity that young entrepreneurs have, right? And it goes beyond movie halls. I think you have to intertwine everything. So even if I want to message today as a corporate, how do I intertwine my message through the larger entertainment ecosystem? I think that's the way the opportunities are going to arise. Who are the new people who are going to make corporate films? Who are the new people who are going to, design new events? And that's what it's about. And if you look at, what's happening in India, like you said, I'm very excited to see some of the bold experiments that are being tried out today. I know that Shekhar Kapoor and A.R. Rahman, for instance, are using AI to, try out a very bold experiment in Dharavi, in hip-hop and rap music, where they're looking at the young talent in Dharavi to see, can they go global? Can they be global superstars? Now, I think these things are possible. You saw that we've had great successes, Natu Natu at the Oscars.
Yes.
So why not? I mean, we have to think global, we have to think big, and we have to be very relevant in the global context. We cannot be trapped in our traditional mindset and just keep it to ourselves and keep it to the Indian diaspora. We have to think about making global impact. And I think this is the time when technology meeting tradition can become a global phenomenon for us.
I want to circle back really quickly to one other interesting point that was made yesterday, was that going forward in the future in India and across the world, that the next unicorns are not going to be apps. They're going to be creative individuals, right? And so that is really key to India's story here, right? Where over 50% of the population is under the age of 30, if I'm correct there. So that's a huge asset, especially for the creator economy and propelling the path forward.
Yeah, so I think technology today is transforming this universe of creators, okay? I think creators have limitless possibilities. But having said that, creators need to be IP-driven. You cannot have people knocking off each other's creations or creativity, right? I think you need creators to protect their IP, to protect their ideas, to make sure that these ideas are very different. You have to challenge the status quo. You have to challenge your creativity and your creative instincts. I think that will really create these wonderful opportunities for creators. But I couldn't agree with you more. Today, India is really focused on apps. But the bigger and much more exciting opportunities lie in creating new ideas and new aspects of the media and entertainment.
And so
sector.
Once you've created that brilliant new idea and as a part of this orange economy and the path forward, what is your advice for having created a very successful global company that is recognized in every major city in the world and has huge, tremendous impact, for how startups should interact in today's fractured geopolitical environment, or how they should be thinking about going global once they have achieved, some of the first steps that we've laid out here?
So I think every startup entrepreneur has to be driven by an idea. Okay, that idea can be big or small, but it's the first starting point. It's your launch pad. Think about that launch pad developing into a much bigger idea. I think startups need to think big from the start, but to remember that it starts with one small step, and then endure to build that big idea and to stay with it. Because if you want to exit very soon or exit at the first impediment of failure, you will never create that into a big idea. I could have given up very often, along my journey at the first few failures I had. But I had a much bigger idea. I felt it was such a big opportunity for me that I couldn't give up so easily. So I think startups have to, remember that this is a journey. This is a journey with impediments. You make mistakes, but you also learn. The feedback loop is very fast. And so you learn, you pick yourself up and keep driving that bigger and bigger idea. I think the creative space is one of the most exciting spaces, because you start with an idea which you're excited about, and then you build that idea into a much bigger opportunity. That to me is what a startup journey is about. And I would say to every startup in the creative space that no idea is too big or small. It depends on how you want to shape it and how big you want to make it.
I know we're just about out of time, but in closing, I want to ask one final question. As we look ahead to the next decade, what is your vision for Biocon and India's role in building a healthier, more connected, and tech-enabled world?
Well, for me as an entrepreneur, I always wanted to make huge global impact to patients anywhere and everywhere. I mean, through affordable access to life-saving and essential medicines. But in the same context, I think the orange economy is about making this huge global impact through very creative ideas that are born out of our tradition, but translated into very big global opportunities. That's how you make global impact. That's how India will be omnipresent in every part of the world, because we have some story to tell which is so powerful that it resonates around the world. But technology will make sure that it resonates.
Beautifully said. Well, Kiran, thank you so much for your valuable insights. And it's an honor being here with all of you in Mumbai at Waves. Thank you.